So there are three types of potencies, three types of C potencies: succussion potencies, fluxion potencies, and radionic potencies. Radionic potencies we have already discussed. What would be succussion potencies? What is succussion? Strokes. The shaking of the bottle, strong shaking of the bottle that you do while preparing each potency, that is called a succussion. So succussion potencies would be those in which you are shaking the bottle every time. Since they are succussion potencies, that means these potencies must not be succussing. If these potencies are differentiated from succussion potencies, that means there should be no succussion in these potencies. But can you make a potency without succussion? Think of it. Can you actually make a potency without succussion? That is fluxion. That is fluxion. So homeopaths after Hanuman actually felt that this is a very tiresome job. Why shake the bottle? It's not about shaking the bottle. It's just about the dilution that matters. So let's just keep diluting. No shaking, not even stirring, just diluting. Several homeopaths felt that it's the dilution that is important, not the shaking of the bottle, not the succussion. So they did away with the succussion. They just kept diluting and diluting and diluting. Like you take a vial, 1C, you don't even shake, empty, fill, empty, fill, empty, fill, empty, fill, empty, fill, empty, fill. You do it 100 times, you have got 100C. No shaking. What such potency would be called? Fluxion potency. Now there are many different ways to prepare a fluxion potency, but this is the basic principle of a fluxion potency, that there is no succussion involved. It's simple dilution. Succussion potency, you know who were the people who did method using prepared. Hanuman, Jenischen, Korsakoff and Dunham were the common people, were the most popular people who focused on the shaking. Hanuman has of course given the method. Jenischen was so sure that I think he was introduced to this manufacturing process by Dunham. If I remember right, I could be wrong. Jenischen is believed to have a horse's strength in his arm. It's a saying that Jenischen used to have a horse's strength in his arm, and Jenischen was not a homeopath. He was put into use for preparing potencies because of his power in the arm. So that is how Jenischen used to prepare, because of his strong shaking. So he felt that shaking is important. How did Dunham prepare the potencies? What Dunham did was, Dunham bought an oil mill, old abundant oil mill. You know how oil is used to be pressed. Oil comes out of seeds because they are pressed with pressure. Okay. So in oil mill, what they do is, or they used to do at that time was, that they would put the seeds from which the oil was supposed to be extracted, and from a very high place they would throw very heavy weight, and that weight would crush the seeds and oil would come out, and they would keep doing it. Raise the weight and throw it down, raise the weight and throw it down, raise the weight and throw it down. So the pressure, repeated pressure on the seeds would actually bring the oil out. So what Dunham did was, he actually bought an abundant mill, oil mill, and instead of using the seeds, he actually tied the upper part, not with the weight, but with the glass vials filled with medicine. And in the bottom, so that the vials won't crack, he put leather mats. So now he would like raise the bottles high up. Hanuman says this is sufficient. Jenischen says this is sufficient. Dunham said, let's take it 10 feet high. And he would like take 10 feet high and chhod diya, dham. That's one succussion. Raise it up, phir chhod diya, dham, second succussion. From 10, 15 feet high. So, but they were actually at least shaking. Korsakov, he was not changing the bottle, but he was still shaking. Okay? So all these people were good shakers, movers and shakers of Hanuman, of homeopathy. Then came people who did not believe that shaking helps. So fluxion as a term means the act of flowing. The principle of this method of potentizing is based on the observation that turbulence in liquid makes it more dynamic. What people felt was, what happens when you shake? It produces turbulence in the vial. It produces turbulence in the vial. That is what happens when you are shaking. So they said, why do you need to do that? Even when the water is flowing, it has turbulence. So why, let's do away with the shaking part, let's just make the water flow. And there would be enough turbulence to actually raise the potency. That was their mathematical logic. So what did they do? Now the fluxion has 3 different methods. Now there's a Locke's variation of continuous method of succussion, which, of fluxion, which is used in Brazil and Argentina, in which what they do is, while the water is flowing, it is also being stirred simultaneously. So in the container in which the water is dripping, it's also simultaneously being stirred. So that's called Locke's variation of fluxion potency. And the discontinuous method in which there was not continuous flow, but the bottle is filled, emptied, filled, emptied, filled, emptied. No shaking. This is discontinuous. The other one was continuous method. This is called discontinuous method. And who were the pioneers who followed this principle? Burdick, Skinner, Borick, Kent, Charicot. So these were the people who tried to use this discontinuous method. Even Kent had at one time created a machine for fluxion potencies. Okay. So these were the people who actually influenced the development of our postology and potency. Hanuman did great work. Monegasson was one of the first people who actually started using high potencies. He was the one who started popularizing 200C. He was the one who forced Hanuman to actually experiment with higher potencies, and Hanuman did experiment till up to 300. Although Hanuman believed that you do not need to go beyond 30C, but Hanuman did experiment up to 300C potency. Lehrman was Hanuman's pharmacist. He used to prepare the drugs for Hanuman. Staff and Gross and Streeter, they were contemporaries of Hanuman. They were close students. Jenichen, you already know. Korsakov, I have discussed what he used to do. Bernhard Finke, Thomas Skinner, and Locke. These were the people who influenced the development of homeopathic potencies in that era.